Report from the University of Illinois Chicago and state leaders shows about 10,000 Illinoisans experience homelessness each and every night.
Capitol Bureau Chief Max Cotton explains the governor's Home Illinois plan to put a roof over the heads of everyone in the state.
Here in Illinois, we face hard truths because we know that that is the only way that we can move towards a better, more equitable future.
Those hard truths include the fact that every night about 10,000 Illinoisans go to sleep homeless. That's according to a report state leaders and researchers worked on with the University of Illinois Chicago Institute for Research on Race and Public Policy. When broken down by race, black residents are nearly 8 times more likely to experience homelessness compared with their white counterparts, double the national average.
Meeting the goal of ending homelessness requires an understanding of the factors that drive this gap and, more importantly, a plan to close it.
It's why the governor's proposed budget is calling for lawmakers to spend $250 million to address homelessness, a $50 million increase. His plan includes investing in affordable and permanent supportive housing, enhancing the safety net with robust support services, and doing more to close the financial and mortality gaps that disproportionately affect black communities.
These investments in court-based rental assistance, housing and services support, and outreach and engagement in black communities will make advancements in bolstering our safety net.
We have met this groundbreaking data-driven plan with robust investments in housing, homelessness prevention, crisis response, street outreach, and much more in an unprecedented effort to build an Illinois where homelessness is brief, rare, and non-recurring.
In Springfield, Max Cotton, WGEM News.